Have you ever felt like you're growing on the inside, you're reading the books, doing the inner work, facing your fears, but still, your life doesn't quite reflect that transformation? You're not alone. There comes a moment in every self-development journey when mindset shifts are no longer enough. We need something more. We need movement. But not just any kind of action, aligned action, the kind that flows from your deepest truth and builds the life you're meant to live. In today's episode, we'll explore how to bridge the gap between your inner growth and your external reality. You'll learn how to move forward without burning out, how to take small but powerful steps, and how to turn action into a sacred practice that aligns with your vision, values, and spirit. This is the missing link for so many. Let's connect the dots and bring your vision to life. Chapter 1: The Missing Link Between Inner Growth and Outer Change. There's something no one tells you when you begin the journey of self-development. At first, it's all about the inner world. You read the books. You reflect. You journal. You start becoming more self-aware. You notice your patterns, your beliefs, your wounds, and that feels powerful, almost like waking up after years of being asleep. But then something strange happens. You look around, and despite all that inner work, your life on the outside doesn't look very different. The same job, the same relationships, the same routines, the same results. And deep down you wonder, why hasn't anything changed? This is the moment where most people stall. Because they've done the inner work, but they haven't yet taken outer action that reflects who they've become. That's the missing link. Action that aligns with your new identity. You see, mindset shifts are essential. They rewire your perception. But unless they translate into behavior, into decisions, boundaries, habits, and movement, they remain internal. Untapped potential. Self-awareness without aligned action becomes a loop. You understand everything. You see it clearly. But you're still in the same place, just more painfully aware of it. Let's pause and reflect on this. That there's a false idea in the self-help world, that if you just think positively or visualize enough or change your beliefs, everything else will fall into place. But inner growth is only half the journey. The other half is what you do with that growth. Your inner world sets the direction, but your outer action builds the road. Now, this doesn't mean pushing yourself to hustle or force things. This is about something deeper, something aligned. Aligned action is action that feels true to who you're becoming. It's not about checking boxes. It's about honoring your values, your truth, and your growth through how you move in the world. Even one small step, if taken with intention, can shift your entire reality. This is where Stoicism becomes incredibly relevant. The Stoics didn't just sit around thinking wise thoughts. They practiced their philosophy in the chaos of real life. Marcus Aurelius, who was literally an emperor, wrote, "Don't waste time debating what a good person should be. Be one." That's aligned action. Don't just talk about growth. Live it. Don't just read about courage, choose it. Don't just reflect on your values, act on them. At the same time, aligned action is not the same as random busyness. Most of us have been taught that success equals movement. But action without intention often leads to burnout, regret, and disconnection. True transformation requires intentional movement, from a place of clarity, not desperation. And that starts by listening to what your inner work is telling you. What truth are you now aware of? What needs to shift in your habits, your work, your relationships? Then ask, what's one thing I can do, today, that honors that truth? Here's a simple metaphor to make this clear. Think of your inner work like planting a seed. You've nurtured it with self-reflection, healing, and awareness. But now, it's time to water that seed. And watering is action. You can sit next to the seed with all the good intentions in the world. But unless you take the real-world steps to help it grow, it stays buried potential. There's also a spiritual aspect to all of this. Whether you call it the universe, God, your higher self, there's a deeper intelligence guiding you. That intelligence opens doors, sends signs, nudges you forward, but it can't walk the path for you. You are the one who must move. Spiritual surrender doesn't mean waiting forever. It means listening and responding when the moment is right. Aligned action is your way of saying, I'm ready. I trust. Let's co-create. So if you feel like you've grown internally but your outer world hasn't caught up, don't get discouraged. That's not failure. That's simply the call to take the next step. You've done the inner work. You've laid the foundation. Now it's time to live from that space. And remember, it doesn't have to be big. Even a tiny action, if aligned, can begin the ripple of transformation. Before we move on to the next chapter, where we'll talk about how to clarify your vision, I want to leave you with a question. What's one small step I've been avoiding that could align my outer life with my inner growth? Reflect on it. Sit with it. Then move, slowly, honestly, courageously, because in the end it's not enough to change your mind. You have to change your life. And that begins with the next step you choose to take. Chapter 2. Clarify your vision. Know what you're really after. We all want to change something. We want more peace, more success, more meaning. We want a better job, a deeper relationship, a healthier body, a fuller life. But beneath all of that lies the real question. Do you actually know what you're after? Not the surface level answer. Not what society told you to want. Not what your parents hoped for you. Not what you think will impress the world. I'm asking. Do you know your vision? The one that speaks to the deepest part of your soul. The one that only you were born to walk toward. Because without that kind of clarity, even progress can feel hollow. You can be moving fast, yet heading in the wrong direction. Let's get honest for a second. Most people never take the time to really sit with themselves and ask, what kind of life do I truly want to build? What? Because it's uncomfortable. It forces you to confront the gap between where you are and where you want to be. It forces you to let go of expectations that aren't yours. It forces you to admit that the version of you that's been surviving may not be the one who will thrive. But this kind of honesty is sacred. It's where transformation begins. Because when you stop chasing what's not yours, you begin to discover what is. So let me ask you, what do you want? Not just what do you want to have, but who do you want to become? What kind of presence do you want to walk with? What kind of energy do you want to wake up to every morning? What kind of life would feel like home to you? Not someday but every day. It's easy to chase goals that look good on paper. But it takes courage to pursue a life that feels right in your heart. And that clarity, that real clarity, is what most people are missing. Let me give you an example. You say you want financial freedom. But what you might really want is peace of mind. Or the ability to take care of your family. Or time to focus on your passion. The money isn't the vision. It's a vehicle to the feeling you're actually seeking, and this applies to every area of life. You want a relationship. But what you really want is connection, intimacy, shared growth. You want to move to a new city. But what you're truly craving is a fresh start, a clean slate to become the version of yourself you've been holding back. So the question becomes, what are you really after beneath the goal? What feeling? What experience? What version of you? Until you get clear on that, even your wins might feel empty. The Stoics were masters of this kind of clarity. They understood that desires must be examined, not blindly followed. Seneca once wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." And one of the ways we waste life is by chasing things that don't truly matter to us. So ask yourself, if your time, your energy, your soul were currency, how are you spending them? Are you investing them in your vision, or someone else's? That kind of self-inquiry is the start of liberation. Now let's talk about vision in practical terms. A vision isn't a fantasy. It's a guiding light. It's the emotional and spiritual direction that shapes your actions, decisions, and environment. But here's the truth. You don't need to see the full path. You just need enough clarity to take the next right step. Think of your vision like a lantern, not a spotlight. It illuminates just enough for you to move forward. You don't need to know all the answers. You just need to trust the direction. So how do you find that direction? Start with stillness. Start with listening. Your vision isn't something you force, it's something you receive. You receive it when you quiet the noise. When you turn down the volume of fear, comparison, and expectation. When you ask not just what do I want, but what is life asking of me? What does my soul need to express? What kind of world do I want to help create? These questions will reveal a vision that's bigger than just success. They'll show you a path filled with meaning, integrity, and fulfillment. Let's go deeper with a journaling practice. I invite you to write down the answers to these 5 questions. Slowly, honestly, without censoring yourself. What does my ideal day look and feel like? Not just the schedule, but the energy, the pace, the quality of life. What kind of person do I want to become in the next 3 years? Emotionally, mentally, spiritually. What values do I want to build my life around? Think honesty, freedom, creativity, service, whatever feels core to you. What am I done tolerating? What patterns, people, or environments are misaligned with your truth? If nothing was holding me back, no fear, no doubt, what would I create? Let your imagination run free. This is where clarity often emerges. Take your time with these. This isn't a task. It's a doorway. Now let's touch on the spiritual side. Sometimes your vision doesn't make sense to others, and that's okay. It's not their vision to understand. It was whispered to you, planted in you, for a reason. The dreams in your heart are sacred messages. They're not random. They're assignments from your higher self. And the more you honor those dreams, the more life opens up for you, guiding you, aligning with you, co-creating through you. So trust the pull. Trust the longing. Trust the calling, even if it's quiet, even if it's strange, even if it scares you, because if it speaks to your soul, it matters. As we wrap up this chapter, I want to leave you with this. Clarity is not a destination. It's a discipline. You don't get clear once and forget it. You return to it daily, through silence, reflection, and courage. And each time you return, your vision sharpens. Each time you act on it, it expands. So if you're still unsure, start small. Take 10 minutes today. Turn off the noise. Sit with yourself. Ask your heart, what is the life I am ready to create now? And then listen, not with your mind but with your soul. Because the life you want isn't far away. It's already within you, waiting for you to see it clearly. Chapter 3. Overcome the fear of starting. Let me ask you a question. How many ideas have you had that never left your mind? How many passions were buried under fear? How many dreams have been waiting for you to begin? Most of us aren't held back by a lack of talent, or time, or even resources. We're held back by something quieter. Fear. The fear of starting. It's a strange fear, isn't it? You'd think starting would feel exciting, fresh, full of possibility. But instead, it often feels like standing on the edge of a cliff, with 1,000 what-ifs echoing in your mind. What if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? What if people judge me? What if I disappoint myself again? Sound familiar? If so, you're not alone. You're human. The fear of starting is one of the most universal fears in the world. Because to start is to step into the unknown. And our minds are addicted to certainty, even if that certainty is uncomfortable. Let's get to the truth. Fear doesn't mean stop. Fear means pay attention. It means something meaningful is about to happen. It means you're standing at the edge of growth. It means your soul sees something that your ego is still catching up to. We often think we need to feel confident before we begin. But that's backwards. Confidence comes from action. Courage comes before clarity. Movement creates momentum. And momentum builds trust. If you're waiting to feel ready, you'll be waiting forever. Let's look at what's really behind the fear of starting. At its core, this fear is rarely about failure. It's about identity. Starting something new means you have to let go of who you were. You have to risk becoming someone else, someone you've never been before. And that's scary. Because even your pain is familiar. Even your stuckness is safe. That's the paradox of change. We crave transformation, but we fear the death of the version of us we've known. But hear me clearly. The only thing standing between where you are and where you want to be is the first step. Let's borrow a little wisdom from the Stoics. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Simple, grounded, clear. The Stoics believed in right action, starting from intention, not emotion. They knew that waiting for the perfect conditions was a trap, and they understood that courage is a muscle. Each time you face fear and still move forward, you strengthen your inner power. You stop asking the world for permission. You stop letting your fear make decisions your soul should be making. So how do you actually start? How do you go from stuck to moving? Here are 3 spiritual and practical keys to overcoming the fear of starting. 1. Shrink the mountain. One of the biggest reasons we don't start is because the vision feels too big. You want to write a book, start a YouTube channel, launch a new career, heal emotionally, build a new version of your life. And that's beautiful. But if you try to do it all at once, you'll overwhelm your nervous system. The mountain looks massive, until you realize it's just a series of small human-sized steps. Don't ask, can I do it all? Ask, what's one small step I can take today? Tiny actions create massive results. A sentence becomes a page. A walk becomes a habit. A phone call becomes a new connection. A decision becomes a new direction. 2. Act before you're ready. Perfectionism is just fear in a fancy outfit. We think we're being careful, but really, we're avoiding discomfort. The truth is, you don't need to be perfect to start. You just need to be willing. Willing to be seen trying. Willing to get it wrong and keep going. Willing to grow in public. Because the beginning of anything is messy. And that's okay. Messy is honest. Messy is alive. Messy is real. Think of a child learning to walk. They wobble. They fall. But they don't judge themselves. They just keep moving. Can you offer yourself the same grace? 3. Let your why be louder than your fear. Fear is loud, but your purpose can be louder. When fear says, you might fail, let purpose say, this matters too much not to try. When fear says, people might laugh, Let purpose say, even if one person is helped, it's worth it. When fear says, you're not ready, let purpose whisper, you were born for this. Let your why ground you. Let your vision pull you forward. Let your heart make the decision, even if your mind is trembling. And finally, remember this. Starting doesn't need to be dramatic. It just needs to be true. Your start might be a quiet decision, a shift in your morning routine, a moment of honesty with yourself, a commitment to show up even scared. And that's enough. Because every revolution starts with a whisper. Every journey starts with a single step. Every transformation begins with a simple word, yes. Yes to the unknown. Yes to the risk. Yes to the possibility that you could actually become the person you were always meant to be. Let me leave you with this. There's a version of you waiting on the other side of action. A version that's bolder, freer, more alive. A version that's not afraid to begin even imperfectly. Don't let fear be the author of your life. Let courage write this next chapter. Let today be your beginning. Because you don't need to see the whole path. You just need to trust yourself enough to take the first step. Chapter 4. The Micro-Action Principle. Have you ever stood at the base of a goal so big, so overwhelming, that you froze? You looked at the mountain ahead and thought, there's no way I can do all that. So you didn't? Not because you were lazy. Not because you didn't care. But because the sheer weight of the goal became heavier than the energy to begin. This is where most dreams die, not in failure but in inertia. We wait for motivation. We wait for clarity. We wait until the perfect moment. And waiting becomes our silent habit. But what if I told you there's a quiet force stronger than motivation? More powerful than grand vision? More consistent than bursts of inspiration? That force is what I call the micro-action principle. The micro-action principle is simple. It's the idea that the most profound transformations in your life don't begin with massive steps. They begin with tiny, consistent actions. Not with changing your entire lifestyle overnight, but with one mindful decision today. One honest sentence. One 5-minute commitment. One glass of water. One breath. Small enough that it feels almost laughable, but powerful enough that it reclaims your momentum. Because here's the truth, big change doesn't come from doing a lot once. It comes from doing a little, over and over again. Let's take a step back. Your brain, as brilliant as it is, resists change. Not because it wants you to fail, but because it's wired for safety. Any big disruption, any overwhelming shift triggers your brain's defense system. It tells you, this is too much. Let's stay where it's familiar. But micro-actions slip past that resistance. They don't threaten your survival system. They feel manageable, doable, even comforting. That's why they work. They build trust with yourself. And trust is the soil where new habits grow. Let's look at an example. You want to get in shape. That if you tell yourself you need to run 5 miles a day, change your diet completely, and wake up at 5 a.m. starting tomorrow, your brain will scream, no thanks. But if you tell yourself, today I'll walk around the block. Just one walk. That's a micro-action. And you can do it today without waiting to be perfect. You want to write a book? Forget the 60,000-word goal. Tell yourself, I'll write for 10 minutes. You want to heal emotionally? Don't try to fix your whole life. Just pause. Feel. Journal a sentence. Take a deep breath with your hand on your heart and ask, what do I need right now? That's a micro-action. And that's how healing begins. The micro-action principle isn't about lowering your standards. It's about creating momentum, not pressure. We overestimate what we can do in a day and underestimate what we can do in a year through small, aligned steps. Every time you act, no matter how small, you shift something in your identity. You say to yourself, I show up. I am the kind of person who moves forward even in uncertainty. Let's talk about the spiritual layer of this principle. In many traditions, Stoicism, Zen Buddhism, and even modern mindfulness, the wisdom is the same. Peace is found in presence. Power is found in the now. And change happens one moment at a time. You are not responsible for climbing the whole mountain today. You are responsible for this step, this breath, this choice. There's a Zen proverb that says, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. In other words, transformation doesn't look dramatic. It looks ordinary, done with awareness, done with love. The micro-action principle honors that. It honors the process over the performance. Here's what micro-actions do. They lower resistance. Because they feel manageable, they don't trigger overwhelm. They rewire your brain. Neural pathways form through repetition, not intensity. Small habits lay new tracks in your mind. They build self-trust. Every time you follow through, even a little, you reinforce the identity of someone who acts, who follows through, who honors their word. They align you with your future. Every small act is a signal to the universe, to your subconscious, and to your future self. I'm ready. You might be wondering, but how do I know which micro actions to take? Start here. Ask yourself, what's one small thing I could do today that moves me 1% closer to the life I want? Just 1%. That's all. Forget the 100%. Forget the finish line. Focus on 1% progress. And here's the magic. If you get 1% better every day for a year, you don't just improve 365%. You compound. You evolve. You transform. Because consistency compounds. Let's bring it back to you. Think about an area of your life where you've been stuck. An area where the goal feels too big. Or the weight of change feels heavy. Now ask yourself, what would a micro action look like here? What's something so small it's almost silly not to do it? What would I do if I trusted that small was powerful? Do that. Today. Even if it's just 5 minutes of meditation. Even if it's a glass of water. Even if it's reaching out to someone you've avoided. Even if it's setting a 10-minute timer to start something you've been delaying. Because micro actions don't just create change, they create evidence. Evidence that you are becoming who you say you want to be. Let me close with this. The life you want doesn't arrive all at once. It arrives in pieces. In tiny moments of courage. In small, deliberate choices. If you can learn to love those small steps. To celebrate the unseen victories. To trust the power of doing just one thing today, then change is no longer some distant peak. It's already happening. One micro action at a time. Chapter 5. Aligned action as a spiritual practice. There's a moment in everyone's journey where action no longer feels like just effort. It begins to feel like devotion. It's the point where you're no longer doing things simply to achieve, but to honor something deeper. That's the shift from action to aligned action. It's subtle. It's sacred. And it's transformational. Let's begin by understanding the difference. Ordinary action comes from pressure. It's born from fear, comparison, anxiety, or ego. It says, I have to do this to prove myself. I should be further by now. I'll never be enough unless. It's noisy. It's restless. It's exhausting. But aligned action is different. It comes from stillness. From clarity. From a quiet yes inside your soul. It doesn't scream. It whispers, this is right. When you take aligned action, you're not forcing life to move. You're flowing with it. You're not chasing outcomes. You're becoming a vessel for intention. In this way, aligned action becomes a spiritual practice. Because it asks you to listen, to surrender, to trust. You might wonder, but how do I know if an action is aligned? The answer is simple. But it requires honesty. Ask yourself, does this come from fear or from truth? Am I moving from anxiety or from inner guidance? Am I proving, or am I expressing? Aligned action feels different. It may still be hard. It may still take effort. But it doesn't leave you depleted, it leaves you rooted, because it honors your values, your spirit, your path. Let's take a step deeper. In many spiritual traditions, action is not separate from the sacred. The Stoics believed in living in accordance with nature, with your own reason, values, and virtue. The Bhagavad Gita teaches karma yoga, the yoga of action performed without attachment to the results. Buddhism teaches right action as part of the Eightfold Path, acting from compassion, mindfulness, and wisdom. Each of these teachings points to the same truth. What you do becomes sacred when you do it from alignment. Not from ambition alone. Not from ego. But from presence. From soul. Let's ground this with an example. Say you're working on a new business idea. You're driven but exhausted. You're doing everything you think you should do, marketing, content, calls, but inside something feels off. Pause. Ask, what part of this still feels true to me? What am I doing because I'm scared, and what am I doing because I'm inspired? Now imagine letting go of everything misaligned. Even if it means doing less. Even if it means going slower, and instead focus only on the next right action. The one that feels real. Grounded, that is aligned action. And that shift, subtle as it may seem, will not just change your work, it will change your being. Here's the paradox. Aligned action often looks quieter on the outside, but it creates louder transformation on the inside. Because it's not about hustle. It's about harmony. It's not about speed. It's about substance. It's not about doing more. It's about doing what matters. And when you align your actions with your deepest truth, the universe responds. People feel it. Opportunities flow. Your energy rises. Because there's no resistance between who you are and what you do. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you acted from a place of deep alignment? Maybe it was something small, choosing rest over pushing yourself. Or finally starting that project your heart kept nudging you toward. Or having an honest conversation you'd been avoiding. That moment, that return to truth, is what this chapter is about. Because it's in those moments that you're not just changing your life. You're becoming more yourself. And that is spiritual. So how do we cultivate aligned action day by day? Here are a few practices. 1. Create stillness before you act. Before making a big decision, sit in silence. Take a few breaths. Ask, is this aligned with my values, my truth, and my season of life? 2. Reflect daily. At the end of each day, ask, which actions today felt life-giving? Which ones felt forced? Over time, you'll start to notice patterns. Follow the energy that feels real. 3. Journal with intention. Write down your core values, your vision, your non-negotiables. When faced with a choice, compare it to that compass. Does it pull you closer to your truth, or distract you from it? 4. Trust the slower path. Aligned action doesn't always produce immediate results, but it always produces lasting ones. Don't confuse noise for impact. Let your alignment lead. Here's something beautiful to remember. You don't have to rush to your purpose. You can arrive there slowly, by acting in alignment every single day. Every aligned action is a prayer. Every step in truth is a meditation. Every moment of courage, a declaration. I trust the path unfolding through me. So today, ask yourself, what is one action I've been forcing that I could replace with something more aligned? What is one truth I haven't honored in my choices? And what would it look like to let my life be an offering of integrity, intention, and presence? Because when you live from that place, action becomes more than motion. It becomes meaning. It becomes peace. It becomes you, and you, in alignment, are the most powerful force there is. From vision to reality, what we explored today is more than a process. It's a practice. We uncovered how inner transformation fuels outer change. How clarity of vision gives direction to your energy. How fear can be overcome when you take the first step. How micro-actions make big dreams feel possible. And how true progress comes when your action aligns with your deepest truth. This journey isn't about doing more. It's about doing what matters, intentionally, honestly, and in tune with your soul. So now, I want to hear from you. What part of today's episode resonated the most? Drop a comment below. I'd love to read your thoughts and reflections. And if you found value in this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the bell so you never miss the next chapter in your journey of self-growth. Your vision matters. Your actions matter. Let's keep building something meaningful together. See you in the next one.